Hello, everyone. Welcome to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is also the name of a memoir I wrote about my journey to love and compassion, sharing my failures, my successes, in the hope that your journey would be inspired, that mine would inspire your journey. You can buy a signed copy of the A Train to Sedona on my website at Buy the Book page. You can also buy an unsigned copy from Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Walmart, and bookstores. Now, I also have a free gift for you. I call it the cheat sheet for high vibration living, desired to bring your energy to a high and present place. 7 exercises to stay in the present moment, a walking meditation, a 2 to 3 minute meditation, an affirmation mantra as a centering tool, prayer, breathing, and the way to surround yourself with violet light. Now, you can download a copy of the cheat sheet on my website at lindamarsanico.com. I have 2 disclaimers. One is that this broadcast does not establish a professional relationship. And 2, that the opinions expressed here do not necessarily represent TalkRadio.NYC. Today, my guest is Frank R. Harrison, who is a passionate executive and healthcare advocate with 30 plus years of experience spanning the financial, services, entertainment, and new media industries. For the last 4 years, he has become focused on healthcare as a mission, utilizing all of his experience to become a leader to the audience he reaches over multiple channels. Frank's education spans top-notch institutions that have provided the foundation for entrepreneurship. He has learned from Brooklyn Technical High School, New York University, Fordham University. He has achieved certification as a public health advocate through Cornell University in conjunction with the New York State Department of Health. The most recent accolade was achieved during the COVID-19 pandemic, and he has been able to put this work to use on his podcast on this network called Frank About Health. Currently, Frank is channeling his expertise and passions into filmmaking, content production, and developing medical education programs. He released a documentary this year, which you'll get a picture of during one of our breaks. He's aiming to leverage his diverse experiences and insights to create a compelling narrative that resonates with a wide audience. This project is an extension of his career and a testament to his lifelong commitment to learning, innovation, and making a meaningful difference. Now, in addition to being my guest, Frank, who introduced me to the network, is giving me a send-off because this is my last programmed show. I don't know what the future is going to bring, and we'll talk more about that. But here's my last show that Frank is celebrating with me. Frank, welcome to the A Train to Sedona.
It is my pleasure. Together in the next hour, we are going to look at the final stop before we make our next transfer.
And also, we're going to be talking about your documentary.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So tell me, what were the influences that you experienced to bring you where you are today?
When you say influences, you mean people, or do you mean situations, experiences, or all of the above?
All that come to mind.
Okay. Well, I could say that when I first joined TalkRadio.NYC, it was known then as Talking Alternative Broadcasting because there was no Zoom. It was at a time where you could still be in studio with headphones on your ears, mics hanging down, people calling in as your guests and asking live questions. It was a nice time to actually start advocating for the condition of epilepsy. That was my linear focus. I was also at the same time working for Hilton Hotels. And I was also combating recurring seizure activity. So I needed to do my job and at the same time do my program to help me keep focused. I guess there
Mhm.
was an inner spiritual motive, but I was not aware of it. I was just aware that I needed to keep busy and needed to be active and needed to engage so that I didn't feel like that I was just, in a bubble or in some kind of um, crisscross of pathways that didn't make any sense.
Mhm.
So that would be a starting point. At the same time, I was very much involved in doing what I could to help my father, who was dealing with prostate cancer. The onset was 2012, and he was able, because he was much younger then compared to his
Mhm.
current age, 94, but still kicking. He was able to do cryogenic ablation, which is freezing of the prostate. He was able to do radiation, and it actually went away. It was in remission.
Wow.
So it was a challenge. And then on top of that, I also started getting more seizure activity. So I had to leave the network and I went away for about a year to do cannabis testing to see if I was a candidate. It wasn't legal in New York at the time. So after coming back, little did I expect we were going to be in the COVID pandemic. So I would have to say that little brief history I gave you from 26 to 2020, sorry, 2016 to 2020, is that what led me to where I am today
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
constant external challenges
Mhm.
that was really testing my faith, my sense of what was going on, my intellect. How can I come up with a solution? How can I also use the show at that time to remove the stigma? Because one thing is to be an advocate, but when people don't take you seriously because they think you're less than because of a disability that most people still didn't understand at that time, you have even more of an upward hill to climb when you really don't need to. So it was a combination of how do I disengage with those that are not of any value to my mission, and how
Mhm.
do I integrate with those that would escalate that value? And lo and
Yeah.
behold, Sam Leibowitz was the beginning and the subsequent return, especially during COVID.
That's
So,
wonderful to hear.
mhm.
Excuse me. Did you find that you needed to accept your epilepsy in order to move forward in a very forward kind of way, in a very open kind of way?
Oh no, epilepsy for me was I considered it my medal of honor because at the same time, the reason why I say that is prior to doing the show, I had obtained my MBA from Fordham Gabelli School of
Right.
Business in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
I had attained a Master of Arts in Neuropsychology from NYU, and I worked closely with the NYU Langone Health System there in doing my thesis and dissertation.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got a Master of Science degree from NYU in
Wow.
social media, and I was using my epilepsy to do my research. I was using my epilepsy to come up with business ideas to help market solutions for
Mm-hmm.
epileptic patients or anyone who had a disability that was not protected by insurance or government programs. And so when I met Sam, I was actually working on a business that I called MedCash. You know, it's unfortunate though that when my seizures took over again and I told you or what was going on in 2016 through 2020, I had to table that.
Mm-hmm.
But it it would not have happened. My entrepreneurial abilities would not have mushroomed if it wasn't for my epilepsy. So I didn't want to inhibit myself from being productive because of it, but I knew that the public would because people react to stigmas and perceptions, and they're not always true, but we live in a society where perception unfortunately governs
Yes.
the community, and it's a challenge, especially now with what we're dealing with in our society. But the thing is, I think that if you have that sense of agency within yourself, your own guideposts, whether they're
Yes.
spiritual, emotional,
Mm-hmm.
or even if you have a belief system that works for you, um, you're able to somehow just move forward and think of them as distractions It's still challenging, but not as challenging as it was for me about 5 years ago.
Well, you were way ahead of the curve. You
Yeah, I've been told
accepted
that I am, but
and
I've
you
also been told
excelled.
it's a lonely place.
You are truly exceptional in all the things that you are accomplishing, Frank.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
and
Hmm.
what about the role of spirituality, love, and compassion in your life? How does that get shown?
I would have to say that that has been a journey unto itself, and I have always considered myself a loving person. I'm a sensitive person. I'm a warm person.
Yes.
I always like to give when I can. But I found myself for a period of 10 years, including that 5 year period I just described from 2016 to 2020, 2021, where I felt like it was conditional. It where I can only be myself when I was needed, or if it was approved in some way by the people I was dealing with, whether it's personally or professionally. Now, that may have been just my own self reflection of being guarded because knowing that if people found out that I had epilepsy, they were not going to take me seriously. So I overcame that by shouting it out loud on the show. So now epilepsy doesn't even stop me. I talk about that like I talk about the common cold.
Yes.
I,
Yes.
I think what stops me are the concerns that, we live in a socially divided country right now. And when I find myself having to have guests on the show, depending on what their views are, I may have to vet them. I have to be more discerning. I
Hmm.
issue disclaimers on every one of my shows now, so I don't like that feeling of restriction again, but at least I know I'm in a common playing field now. I'm not
Yes.
the marginalized epileptic patient trying to continue to fight for my goals and my dreams and whatever. So how does spirituality fit into it? Knowing that depending on how I feel inside, that's how I move forward.
Hmm.
I don't seek the external validation anymore.
So when you think about how it feels inside, are you pointing to your heart?
My heart, my gut,
Hmm.
even my spinal cord. I could tell
Mm.
when something is positive, like an adrenaline rush goes through.
Yes.
I get a
Yes.
little bit of a chill, but I feel good.
Yes.
I feel like, wow, this is great. Something momentum is happening, you know?
That's one of the measures of feeling that something is true. Getting every hair on my body standing up is just such a lovely way to have a validation.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And you were talking about burying, that your spirituality was buried for a while. Mine was buried for such a long time until more recently, well, 1998. And we'll talk about that more later. I was asleep. I was more religious than spiritual. And now I'm spiritual, spiritual, spiritual. Um, and we'll talk about that. So it's
Okay.
around the time that we need to take a commercial break.
Sure.
And listeners, we're going to be coming back to talk about Frank's extraordinary documentary. So
Hmm.
stay tuned. We'll
Yes.
see you in a bit.
Hmm.
Are you a conscious co creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on TalkRadio.NYC.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on TalkRadio.NYC at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on TalkRadio.NYC.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona broadcast. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Frank R. Harrison. So, Frank, tell us about your documentary, its origins, its purpose, and your vision for it.
Okay, well, I could tell you that it could not have been done without the support of Sam Leibowitz, Emily Schulman, and Jessica Sarivan, our engineer. It was originally planned in 2023 as a 2-hour retrospective of Frank About Health. But after speaking with both Emily and Jesse about the potential for it to be a real narrative of Frank About Health, the build of all of the episodes and all of the guests that were very much advocates for me on all kinds of healthcare issues, especially while I was dealing with my father's cancer that had come back and putting my cousin into a nursing home with Alzheimer's disease. My caregiving role became more exponentially tiresome and was leading me to burnout. But thanks to Hilton Hotels, my former employer, they were able to strike a deal with me and fund the production of a big documentary that would have potentially been distributed across various hotel chains and brands and timeshare units. That would have included not just Frank About Health, but any of the other shows on TalkRadio.NYC that were health focused or spiritually focused. And it was at a time when our country was under a different narrative or a different team of people running it. And there was also the personal challenge I had with Hilton during the pandemic, where they were housing essential workers, administering the vaccines, the nurses, people that had to continue to go to work while we were all on lockdown. And they wanted this. They were endorsing it from the beginning, even before I came back to TalkRadio.NYC in 2021. And then lo and behold, while that was the focus, I just liked the way it evolved. It became into a biography. I was able to reflect on what I'd accomplished. Did I successfully remove the stigma from epilepsy? I don't think so, but at least I did for myself, and I was able to point out not only to the people I was working with, but also to myself, that healthcare is something that we all, as individuals, have to continue to fight for. It's almost like the default entrepreneurial career that we can have, even if you work for an employer or even if you are retired or whatever. When it comes to your healthcare, the only person that can really speak up is yourself, and most people don't have that understanding. So I think that's when I used the documentary to change the direction of the show, because I wanted to be more of having people come in and peel back what was not being presented to us, the public. What is the right technology to use in a surgical procedure? What is the right insurance program? What is the right medication? Are alternative treatments for you? Cannabis, or even meditation, acupuncture. Wanted to get involved in understanding people's stories and traumas through different guests that had their own podcasts or their own books. So it became more, like, documentary became more of a foundation for where I needed to take the show going forward, and less of a Hilton program, because they called me the day after Election Day and discontinued the relationship, the business relationship, because all of a sudden they don't believe in healthcare advocacy. No, I know that's a different person speaking. So
How
Retha Gray.
disappointing was that? Excuse me, Frank.
Oh, sure. No, I was gonna say it was shocking.
Yeah.
But I didn't care because I already felt good about the end product.
Okay.
Myself, Emily, and Jesse were already deciding different ways to first release it, whether it be a release party, whether it be on YouTube, whether it would be probably on my own website, healthymedia.com, named after the production company that I set up to do this. But at the same time, I also thought all I need to do is build new shows and build more of a following so that maybe the documentary belongs on Hulu or Netflix. Who knows? But
How,
it was basically pivoted rather than
yes.
scrapped, which thank God, because it wasn't my money that went into it. It was Hilton's money, but there's no return on that investment, or at least there was a social return, but not an economic one. And yet, the thing is that Retha Gray, who, my dear friend who passed last year, was pretty much behind this from the beginning because we had actually done another documentary together in 2013, but that was pre-Obamacare. And as such, she just had the skills from the industry and the people that could help publicize it and get it out into a mass audience, even if Hilton was involved or not involved. But unfortunately, 1 month after the Hilton deal fell through, she passed.
Oh my.
Right. So you want to talk about your spirituality being tested? Mine certainly was. So
Yes.
to answer your question, how did that make me feel? It wasn't the loss of the documentary, or
Mm,
rather, the loss of the deal with Hilton to make the
yes.
documentary marketed. It was the loss of my biggest advocate that I'd known at that point for 13 years.
Mm,
She was my advocate in show business. I went to the Emmy
um,
Awards with her. She was my advocate in my other business model, introducing me
mhm.
to other managers and agents that could take a look at it, how it would benefit the industry, the unions, the Screen Actors Guild, stuff like that. I mean, she was also very helpful to me when I was dealing with my father, my cousin, and even another mutual friend of ours that had emergency surgery, and she funded the money for me to go there and be her advocate because she had no family around her to make sure that she would, survive the surgery, to go into the right rehab clinic, to get the follow-ups with her doctors. So I think just Retha was very instrumental in understanding how to make my own spiritual journey much bigger for others, sort of
Yes.
like the way you wrote your book. You
Hmm.
know, Frank About Health, I thought was going to be the platform to spin me in the future direction. But no, I had learned spiritually that this is my platform to stand on
Yeah.
and giving me the freedom to talk about what's truly in my mind,
Hmm.
not dependent on my cause, own the cause and manage it correctly. And it was Retha that had a lot of input. And then there was Phyllis Quinlan, who became my co-host on Frank About Health for 40 episodes, and she helped me see things, especially from the medical perspective and the caregiving perspective.
Mm.
And I just found that the documentary became less of a goal and more of a milestone for
Yes.
something much bigger that I'm still waiting to find out what it's going to be.
Well, that's very exciting. Um,
Hmm.
how did COVID-19 inspire your shift toward talk radio and the health advocacy for families like yours?
Oh wow, that would have to be a combination of spiritual and what was going on in our city at the time.
Hmm.
During COVID, I was on lockdown with my mother and my father, and some friends and family members that actually were here in order to support caregiving for both of them. But I ended up with COVID about a week after we were on lockdown, and my father had just started taking a medication, an immunotherapy medication,
Mm.
but I did
Ay,
not
ay,
need
ay.
to be the one to give him COVID, and God forbid the worst event and outcome would happen. So put myself on lockdown in my room for a week. No
Oh,
communication, nothing. And I was going through delirium and all of the things that, if you were in the first round of COVID, you had symptoms that are hard to describe. I mean, luckily now with vaccines and other treatments that are available, I don't think I've ever experienced the kind of delirium
mm,
that I experienced back then.
mhm.
But after going through that and realizing that I could have been in harm's way for my father, I think the whole experience got me vigilant to watch all the daily briefings from our governor at the time, Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah.
And then I also noticed that when the essential workers were retreating to hotels, I called my former employer, Hilton, and they said, "Hey, Frank, it's been a long time. Listen, why don't you come to our Homewood Suites in Times Square? We'll give you the healthcare rate. Experience what it's like to be with our healthcare workers." And sure. So I experienced it and I thought, this would be a great place to probably relaunch my podcast. And then I had a
Oh,
conversation with the manager and we did a demo, a pilot. We called it the cadre report because cadre, essential workers, the cadre report, all about COVID-19. And then I pitched it to Sam and he said, "It sounds great, but people are only going to remember you for Frank About Health." So he said, "Come back under that title." And he was right. He was right. So, and at the same time, ironically, when I started my first show, all the mandates were lifted. So what would I be talking about a cadre report for? I wouldn't be talking about 6 foot distance when you're allowed to go outside again.
yes, yes. Things are
You know,
changing all the time under your feet.
exactly. So when things are changing, keep with what's consistent
Yeah,
and stand on top of it rather than let it lead you. Because if you let it lead you, then you lose your way,
yeah. Become
you
off
know?
balance.
So it
And
was both a practical and a spiritual journey that led me back to talk radio.
so back to spirituality, how did purpose and divine timing shape you and your documentary's creation? Just reiterate that for us. How did spirituality influence?
Oh, that was basically just in my meeting with Hilton in the end of 23, and they had already seen episodes of Frank About Health, and I had already been in discussion with Talk Radio about doing a 2-hour retrospective.
Excuse me. So that's
And
the timing, the divine right timing.
yeah, exactly. So it was from 23 to where we are now. It's been a year and a half, 2 years almost, where they themselves felt I should create a documentary. And then I brought that conversation back to Emily and Jessica, and we agreed that's what we were going to do. So we were all working together as a community to advocate for healthcare. And how better than to create an entire pathway by showing its history and then maybe produce episodes right there at Hilton. That was also part of it. Do fundraising for the people in the Maui fire victims back in
Oh,
July 2023, I think. You know?
you present a very complicated journey of loss, pivoting, resilience,
Yes.
not tangent, another direction,
Yes.
blossoming. It's
Yes.
incredible. Your journey is absolutely incredible, Frank.
And when I look back at it, it was my fighting spirit inside me that I wasn't fully aware of. It needed to be validated at times, but especially when Retha passed on, I felt her through me. She was talking to me, and I felt her. And I think you and I was on your show then before I came back again, and I was talking about that connection I had with her. I still feel her around me. It's not as loud as it was 6 months ago, but I'm just moving forward in the way that I know she would probably whisper in my ear, "This is what I need to do."
and if you called out to her, she would likely come in. There was one time when I couldn't feel my grandfather, and I spoke to the woman who channels Kuan Yin, and she told me, "Your grandfather is very far away." So I went back to my apartment, and I had a whole wall of photos. And one
Mhm.
of his photos was like this. Everything else was perfect. And I said, "Okay, Grandpa, thank you for letting me know you hear me."
Yes. Yes.
So I communicated with him. So we
Yes.
are at a time for a break. And when we come back, listeners, Frank is going to be asking me some questions about my memoir, The A Train to Sedona.
Excellent.
I have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. So I've called it my fourth baby, which I'm sort of putting to sleep for a little while. You see my book cover behind me, you see some foliage. It's just going to go to sleep until I understand more about where my journey will take me. So, listeners, come back and hear what I have to say, Frank's questions to me about the A Train to Sedona memoir.
Absolutely. We'll be back in a few. On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkRadio.NYC.
Are you a purpose-driven individual looking for deeper healing, clarity, and growth? Welcome to the Expansion Room, a transformative space for purpose-driven individuals. I'm Siobhan Larice, host, licensed therapist, and coach. Join me every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on TalkRadio.NYC.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the A Train to Sedona. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Frank R. Harris. Frank, as I mentioned earlier, introduced me to the network, and now he's giving me the most lovely send-off. We've become closer being co-hosts on TalkRadio.New City.
Yes. And Linda, the reason why I think it's appropriate for me, as you mentioned earlier, that I brought you to the network, I am now taking you to the last stop on this particular train because you're going to find out where you're transferring to,
Yes.
and therefore I thought everybody should be aware of the the A Train to Sedona book, because this is something that you can continue to get your guideposts, even if the show is not coming up with any new episodes at this time.
Yes.
Remember, the A Train to Sedona was not just a book, but this show became a companion piece so
Yes.
that everyone can refer to both, especially if you're on a journey to love and compassion. And I have found, like you guys just saw my documentary, that at least the opening credits of it, that was a reflection point because I was taking a new chapter myself. Little did I know it. So I
Yes.
think the one commonality, and which we're going to explore in the questions I will ask you from the book, is you are taking a pause,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not sure yet either what's going to happen. But that's the beauty of spirituality. You don't have to know. You just have to watch it unfold, you know?
And that makes me think of Harry Potter's Marauders map. So he's on the map and it's blank. And here he is, he's going, it's blank. He makes a decision, it lights up to point the direction.
Exactly. Exactly. So all I can say, Linda, is that it has been my pleasure to watch as many episodes of the show over the past year, especially the one you had with Deepak Sani, the one you had with Sam Leibowitz, as well as the one you had with me. But more importantly, I think that when I interviewed Deepak on Frank About Health, he was expanding a lot on what he said on your show, which I thought was brilliant because we were able to see how the way that Sam works. He has his own show, The Conscious
Mm-hmm.
Consultant Hour, with Everyday
Yes.
Awakenings, his book.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your show, The A Train to Sedona. For me, it wasn't about a book, it was about a documentary. But we were all, the three of us, connected in the common thread of health, wellness, and spirituality and insight. And I think, if anything, it's always a challenge on each of our shows for us to tie that all in. But I guess by asking you the following questions, especially from getting insights in the book, you'll be able to help the audience on all of our shows see how TalkRadio.NYC is truly a connected family, all
Yes,
trying to educate and advocate for us, but to take ownership of what we already have inside us,
absolutely.
which a lot of people unfortunately are still not awakening to it for whatever the reason.
And that's why
You
we
know,
want to discuss this and bring it to the awareness of so many listeners. I mean, Deepak Sani has an amazing coaching business, and he and I want to be centenarians. So we had a
yeah,
show all about that. And Sam Leibowitz has been very helpful to me. He appeared
absolutely.
in one of my first episodes. He reads his blogs, and I have read my blogs on some of my solo shows. And
Yes.
I may read one part of a blog in the last segment. So it's been
Oh,
a wonderful
absolutely.
journey.
Absolutely. And it teaches you that we have created a family here that isn't going away, even if the show is not going to be having any new episodes in the near future. So when I was looking at the introduction of your book, I obviously want to know the impetus for writing it, but you call it Finding My Heartfelt Voice. What was the process of discovering that voice for you?
Finding my heartfelt voice didn't happen until I was in my 30s and 40s. I had to look back at my life and understand who I was
Mm-hmm.
internally from my heart versus what I had internalized from my parents, from bureaucracies. And I discovered that I was very angry and very despairing and sometimes depressed. And I had to work through all of that with counseling. Counseling was always very helpful to me. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
journal so much, but I
Mm-hmm.
did energy work at various times. So much so because in my family, which was an old-fashioned Italian family,
Mm-hmm.
people are not individualized. It's more about the group, more about transactions.
The
And I
community.
learned that women, now I'm a baby boomer, women didn't have much to do in the outside world. My father told my mother, teach her to cook. And my mother was an outstanding homemaker. There were no role models around. It was lonely. I was self doubting. And I decided eventually that I wanted to be a psychologist. Where did that come from? It was a seed deeply embedded. So once I developed my heartfelt voice, I
Mm-hmm.
remember telling my brother, I'm the oldest, he comes after me. He has his arm around me. We're in his backyard. And I
Yes.
said, Anthony, I don't have your values. I don't think like you. I'm just different. He said, where do we get you from? And then I had this reputation of being a big mouth and a pain in the buttocks. So my son, in writing the forward, he read my book before it was published. He said, I wouldn't call you a pain in the buttocks. I would just say that you're stubborn. And I think stubborn is a pretty decent quality for a woman who didn't even know what assertion meant until she was 30 and 40 years of age.
Right.
So my heartfelt voice evolved out of the desire to know myself more.
Exactly. And yet, what I've learned also when you are an epileptic, you have to basically always know what's going on inside you. Could it be a seizure? Could it be something else? So, one of the things I learned from that is how to really feel my gut, my instincts,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounds like to me your heartfelt voice was your inner instinct saying, I don't want to live in that restrictive mentality.
It's pushing.
So, I'm just going to act on what I'm feeling, and that becomes your heartfelt voice.
Yes. In a
Mhm.
nutshell, yes.
Yes, awesome. So then in chapter 1, when you were describing about understanding your true power and responsibility, how do you find true power and the ego's notion of power?
There's a lot of ego power around, forcing people to do things, disempowering people.
Hmm.
True power comes from loving myself, knowing myself, developing love and compassion, which I feel are soul sisters.
Yes.
And I did a blog about this, that
Mhm.
love, because my one editor said, love and compassion are very different. I said, well, I have to think about this. If you have a
Mhm.
hard-boiled egg and you see the yellow and the white, they're
Mhm.
described differently, they look different. But if you take one away, you don't have the hard-boiled egg anymore. You need both of them.
Yes.
And so with love and compassion developed, and it's not easily developed, there's a lot of work that goes into it. Letting
Mhm.
go of anger, working through grief. You know, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages, the 5 of shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, over all the feelings, going back when something it comes up again. I remember working on my mother for years. I go to a retreat and somebody's triggering something. I've got more work to do with my mother, whom I love dearly now, because I've worked through all of that didn't serve me anymore. So
Right.
true power brings clarity. And
Absolutely.
yet it comes from doing a lot of inner work, of
Mhm.
having an intention to be on the spiritual path. You know, intention is the driving force of creativity. And Buddha said, and I didn't understand this for years, Buddha said, don't attempt, just do. So
Correct.
in attempting, the energy is meandering.
Yeah, it's
In
like, well,
doing,
if it doesn't work, it's okay.
yeah, in doing, you've got a laser there.
Exactly.
And then having a sense of responsibility on the path so that when something comes up, I don't blame it on somebody else. If I have
Mhm.
an interaction that is problematic, I might ask for clarification. Well, did you mean it like that? And then I take into consideration, is there
Yeah.
something about me that I need to look at?
Mm.
What does this say about me? And because the journey, Frank, is an inward journey toward
Yes.
the love, the core of love, because creator is in every electron and probably even smaller bits in our body. That's a lot of presence.
Yes. Yes.
So true power comes from that journey. And sometimes when I fall off, I get back to the heart. And I wanted
Mhm.
to say, I get back to the heart. And I'm really working now, because talk about being stuck. Before I realized that I couldn't do the show anymore, I was very stuck. I just didn't know what to do, and I didn't pay attention to myself.
Mm.
And in order to get back on track, I've got a lot of work to do now. It's scary not to know. It's really great to say, oh, spiritually, I'm gonna follow that path. I don't know where it's going, but oh my God.
Well, that because we're going to be taking a break soon, I have other questions that I definitely will ask you more in the final segment because they actually fit that segment, which I know you will be reading from your book and stuff. But I wanted to just say that even though you're taking your break, the difference now compared to before you even came to talk radio is that you now have a sounding board of
Yeah.
people from me to Sam to I'm sure Emily and Jesse and Mira Brancu and even Siobhan Larice, who is also come to talk radio recently, and she is
Juanita.
on her own journey as well, even though
Yes.
hers involves not just spirituality and mental health, but there's a little bit of psychedelics and nutrition value and stuff like that. So that's another example how the TalkRadio.NYC family is still with you even as you go to your next chapter.
Yes. I'm at a different plateau,
Exactly.
but I wanted to bring in feeling stuck and the work that is involved in moving back to being centered in the heart. So
Exactly.
now, listeners, we're taking a break and we're going to come back for more of this discussion and from reading from the A Train to Sedona memoir.
Exactly.
See you soon.
Mm-hmm.
Misalignment within your sales team or with the client stalls deals and creates unnecessary friction for you and the client, resulting in up to 37% lower win rate. If you're in pre-sales, sales, sales management, or sales enablement, and you'd like to increase revenues, win rate, margins, client satisfaction, and stay competitive, this show is for you. Hi, I'm Art Fromm, host of the Making Seamless Sales Show, Please join me live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on TalkRadio.NYC.
Have you ever wondered what truly lies beneath the calm? I'm Jacinta Yang. Join me every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Talk Radio NYC as we explore healing, self-discovery, and a space where science meets spirits to help you find peace in a busy world. Take a deep breath and tune in to Beneath the Calm, where every conversations guide you back to the calm within.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the last show of this period of the A Train to Sedona. I'm Linda Marsanico with my guest, Frank R. Harrison, who is helping me to a lovely send-off. So, Frank, what I want to do, I want to read my favorite story from the book. And I want you to ask me questions. There's also a poem I'd like to read. But anyway, sure. My favorite story has to do with love, failing to reach into love. So I lived in a condo with 3 floors. Above me was a family with a new baby. One day I found their stroller parked near my door. I asked them to place the stroller in the outer vestibule or up 6 steps on a landing, out of the range of my doorway. They refused. For months, we went back and forth, exchanging conflictual words. I spoke with the father and the mother who didn't wish to discuss this. Of course, she was busy being a new parent. The tension in the building was thick, and the energy with no resolution in sight. This went on for a while, and I was very unhappy. I'm sure they were unhappy. In retrospect, I could have volunteered to fold and move the stroller myself, but in my rigidity, regrettably, I didn't offer. I think angels whispered in my ear because there was no more discussion and a stalemate, and time passed. And I decided to focus on love. And I began to recite, I am a bodhisattva, which is a person who is on the path of awakening. I am a bodhisattva. Every time I came back, I entered the building to see the stroller. Every time I left to see the stroller, I am a bodhisattva. I am a bodhisattva. Again and again and again. I held love rather than anger around this impasse. One day I came home and the stroller was gone. It had been moved, and the baby buggy was never again placed in front of my doorway. The power of love is unmistakable, and my love vibration was communicated to Mary. My interpretation was that love, the energy, was felt by the family, and they felt loving toward me, and they did what I had asked because it felt like an appropriate thing to do. We each forgave the other and became friends until she moved. Mm-hmm. So I'll make time for a question, and then I have a COVID-19 poem that I want to read.
Sure. I mean, basically, you just talked all about love. And that being said, how do compassion and self-love interplay with your healing path or in your healing path?
I'm thinking of that old song, love and marriage go together like a horse and carriage. I mean, yes. Self-love is something we develop. Compassion is something we develop. And a very important aspect of compassion, 2 very important aspects, are forgiveness and assertion. Yes. And when I told someone on a show, a preview of a show, this assertion is essential for compassion. How? I said, well, in assertion, I define it, getting my needs met while respecting the rights of others.
Yes.
I say what I need to say. I reveal myself to the world, and I'm there. My heart is open. Now, I may make a request. It may not be fulfilled. People may not be happy, but I am honest. Now, sometimes when I don't get what I want, I could fulfill my own request. If I want to go out to dinner and no one's available, I can do so.
Right.
So assertion allows anger to diffuse. And we need to do that for compassion. We also need to forgive. Because if I hold a grudge, I'm holding it against myself. It's like I'm poisoning somebody, but actually I'm being poisoned. And
Yes.
forgiveness takes time. We can't just snap our fingers and forgive. It's a process we need to understand. We need to grow. Something may need to happen in our life for that to occur. But it's something we develop. Self-love and compassion go like that hard-boiled egg.
Yes.
They're soul sisters, soul
Yes.
brothers.
Yes.
And in compassion, we understand that we are one with all. We're all brothers and sisters. We are all children of the same God. And with the love part of it, we're hanging out in what is said to be the highest vibration on the earth.
Yes. Now, you mentioned about forgiveness, and basically what I've learned, I had several people on Frank About Health talk about forgiveness, especially Dr. Jennifer Griggs, and she mentions that a lot of it is in the process of forgiving yourself, of
Absolutely.
a past that is not going to happen the way you expected it.
Yes.
And you may not forget about what someone has done to you, and therefore you may never forgive that other person or other situation. But once you've let go of it and forgiven yourself, it gives you the same calm as if you had forgiven the other person, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So is that when you're saying your compassion is fueling that procedure for you to forgive yourself?
Absolutely. And I think I'm the hardest person to forgive. And for me, it's being a parent and realizing that I could have done this or I could have done that. Because I used to think, oh, I'm just the best parent. Now I realize I'm an imperfect and very good parent. I didn't do everything, but I did a lot of very good things. And if I feel that I've hurt somebody's feelings, I immediately need to reach out to them. Immediately. I can't, I have to take action.
Yes.
And say, I'm not sure if I hurt your feelings. If I did, please tell me, and we have a conversation. I'm all about communicating.
Absolutely. So tell me, before you sign off, what is the one thing that you're going to invite all your listeners and viewers to read your book when they disembark from the final station? How are you going to invite your listeners and viewers to get your book?
Well, I want them to be on the love train.
Yes.
To hang out in the love vibration, to realize that compassion is an everyday experience.
Mm-hmm.
Our spiritual journey is all about us.
Mm-hmm.
And that reaching into the compassionate heart moves into our highest potentials. Now, my book can be found in bookstores. You can order it directly from my website, lindamarsanico.com, which is on by the book page. You can get a signed copy, which I would send to you directly. You don't pay for shipping, or you can get it from your bookstores or from Amazon. We are at 3 minutes. My YouTube page has a wonderful representation of my episodes here. I'll be adding 2 episodes. Hang out there. It's a wonderful place to learn about me and all of my episodes. What else?
They can get you on Kindle.
They can get me on Kindle. They can get me on a signed copy. They can visit my website. There are 5 pages, very interesting happenings on my website.
Yes.
And also you can email me. There's a contact form where you can reach me. There's also my private email address, which is my name, Linda Marsanico, phd@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. And I want to read, I'm
Your
not going to
poem.
read my COVID poem. Maybe I can get both of them in if I go quickly. This is written during COVID. Tale of a city-state. There was an old city who lived in a situation. She had so many citizens who were dying in hospitals and homes. She did know what to do, from the churches and the schools to the few. Shelter at home, she said, as the virus blew the house down and people huddled, afraid and exposed. Be safe in shelter. Yet the people grew restless, even rebellious from boredom. You see, this city was built on rock and roll. The New York Times, the Daily News. The city is proud, yet New Yorkers have a heart. They can and have come together. The city is grateful, not dead. The city is home of King Kong and the Daily Planet, Batman and Captain America. We are superheroes with masks, gloves, and PPE. I am counting the ways that I love thee, O New York. The city of my birth and my residence, we shall overcome. And we did, and we are going to. Now, I just want to read this wonderful passage from Anne Mortifee.
Sure.
This is me now. When a path opens before us that leads we know not where, do not be afraid to follow it. Our lives are meant to be mysterious journeys, unfolding one step at a time. Often we follow a path worn smooth by the many, and in doing so, we lose our authenticity, our individuality, our own unique expression. Do not be afraid to lose your way. Out of chaos, clarity will eventually arise. Out of not knowing, something new and unknown will ultimately come. Do not order things too swiftly. Wait, and the miracle will appear. Let the miracles appear for all of us.
And I want to just add that you will hear more hints of Linda on Frank About Health as I bring Deepak Sani on the 30th of October, and we will discuss about Linda and the A Train to Sedona. At the same time, on the 23rd, which was my little surprise for your send-off, I will be doing the very planned interview with Siobhan Laurice on Frank About Health, and we will cover you in detail.
That's lovely. Frank,
This
thank you.
is
You've
my
been
way.
so kind.
Oh, you're so well. Everybody who wants to see the documentary, here is the QR code
Oh,
of
can
my digital
I
business card.
can I
everybody,
scan that?
yes, you can. And even if this show is a replay based on the viewers that are not looking at it live, they can do this at any time.
I'm
And
adding it to my
basically,
contacts. It says tap to open, and I'm
yeah,
into Link Meet Managed Close. Frank
yeah,
R. Harrison. Look at this.
yes.
Can you? I'm holding it up. Can you see it?
I could see shades of it because of your screen shot. But
Oh
yes,
dear.
no, but
I'm going
that's
to hold
okay.
it on your screen. Put yours down and let me. I can't hold it on your screen.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. I would just everybody on there will be my contact information, the link to the documentary, the link to my Frank About Health podcast page with TalkRadio.NYC, my Facebook, my LinkedIn, and my website. So everyone can see me in detail and
Can you
definitely
see it now?
it's a little blurry, but yes, I
It's a
can see
little
this.
blurry, but there you are, Frank.
Yeah, exactly. And so that will be also a way of being able to attach to the talkradio.nyc playlist, and you'll be able to see episodes of the A Train to Sedona on there as well. This is my way of signing you off, but also continuing the little bit of a legacy that you created for talkradio.nyc, especially over the next few weeks. And remember, everybody, the A Train to Sedona is her metaphor for everyone's journey. We
Yes.
all have our own train or vehicle of sorts. For
Yes.
some, it's their career. But the point is that find your train, conduct it, and get on the right stations you can.
And look for love, develop love. Love is awesome. Love is a catalyst. Be
Yes.
love, embrace love.
And now stay tuned for our next show, which is coming on the air in just about a minute. Thanks again, Linda, for having me. And thanks again for all that you've done for talkradio.nyc.
Thank you so much. Beneath the Calm comes next.
Yes. All right. Bye-bye.